Welcome to Outta Class, for all those lessons you didn't learn in school. Your overall health, fitness and well-being starts with the right mindset and having those meaningful conversations. This is your host, Grant Roberts. Let's get into it. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Outta Class Podcast. If you are a return listener, I appreciate you. I hope you're finding value in it and you are enjoying it. If you're new to the podcast, welcome, and I hope you become an avid listener and find the value in this podcast. Also, as titled, the most overrated and underrated things for fat loss, super relevant in my industry as a personal trainer of many years, a clinical nutritionist, been studying these things, been passionate about it and obsessed with it for many years now. So these are the things that I have observed long-term in the fitness and health industry, especially on social media these days, especially on ads, marketing, all these types of things. These are things I see most relevant and hopefully most helpful that I can debunk for you so you don't ultimately waste your money and your time with these things. I'm going to start with the overrated and then get into the underrated to give you value for your time. As always, I don't intend these podcasts to go too long, so I'll try and keep the points short, sharp, and clear, and then wrap it up so you can listen to it, get what you need out of it, and on to the next one. Number one, I'll start with the overrated points, about 5 of each. Overrated and underrated, but let's go with the first 5 of overrated things. Number one, fat burning supplements. Chances are, if you've looked into fat loss, you're starting in the health and fitness industry, you're scrolling through Instagram or Facebook, you're going to see these types of supplements. Why are they marketed so well? Well, pretty simple. Look at the name, fat burning supplements. I want to drop body fat. What can I do? What pops up? Fat burning. Oh, that looks good. Fat burning supplements. That'll help me. No, it won't, for a few reasons, and I'll describe them now. Most produce little to no meaningful fat loss compared with simply controlling your calories, ensuring a caloric deficit, your activity levels, and food intake. The only reason a fat burning supplement is going to work is if you pair it with a caloric deficit. If you almost overdose on fat burning supplements, but you are eating in a caloric surplus, guess what? The fat burning pill or supplement isn't going to work because it actually doesn't work. People get what is called a placebo effect when they take these supplements. They get the sweats, their metabolic rate goes up temporarily when they're working out, and they feel like they're burning body fat. And this leads into the next point, but I'll continue on with this for now. Fat burning supplements, I guess, fat burning supplements in the grand scheme of things, long story short, are a scam. They're marketed in a really smart way, a really engaging way to prey on vulnerable people who want a quick fix. They don't want to do the work, or they want rapid fat loss, and they just don't have the education to understand what it takes to actually achieve fat loss, which is a caloric deficit. So don't waste your money or your time buying fat burning supplements. That's all I really want to say with that. If you want to drop body fat, eat high protein, nutrient dense, high fiber foods majority of the time. And if fat loss is your goal, ensure you are in a caloric deficit, burning more calories throughout the day than you were taking in through food, or within the 24 hours, or within the week. Your average calories should ensure you are in a caloric deficit. That is number one. Now, so I'm going to move through these as quick as possible. I think I made that point clear. Let's move on to number 2. Cardio, and even more so than that, fasted cardio. For some reason, people still believe cardio is a thing they should be doing for fat loss. You see people going to the gym for the first few times. I want to lose fat loss. I'm going to start running on the treadmill, or I'm going to run, or I'm going to jump on the bike. I'm going to get a good sweat up. And leading back to my last point, it's more of a placebo effect for why people believe that cardio is superior for fat loss. They sweat, they huff and puff and get their heart rate up and believe, gee, I'm doing all this hard work, I must be dropping body fat. This must be really good for fat loss. There was a term that went around a while ago, a bit of a saying. I don't really see it anymore. So hopefully people have become more educated on what achieves fat loss and what doesn't. But it was basically sweat is fat crying. That's what they used to say. Oh, sweat coming out of your body is just fat crying, when sweat actually isn't fat. It is just your body's way of regulating your body temperature. So cooling your body down opens up the pores in your skin and sends water and fluid out of your body to prevent it overheating. It is not body fat coming out of your body. Even more so than that, cardio now I'm not saying it doesn't burn fat, it may burn more energy and fat during the workout, but it does not automatically lead to more body fat loss overall. Why is that? I'll get into why something is very underrated later on, but cardio is not the superior way to drop body fat long term and sustainably, which I'll get into later on. So keep that in mind. That's the main point I wanted to make, that cardio is overrated for fat loss for many reasons. Walking's great, of course. I'll get into that later on. I think it just dropped one of the underrated points. But what I mean is very intense, long-term cardio isn't, I would argue to say it isn't the healthiest way to drop body fat either, which we'll get into later on. Number 3 leads in from number 2, leads in from number 1, and that is sweating more. I just named this before. Sweat mainly reflects, as I mentioned, fluid loss, not fat loss. Any intermediate drop on the scales is usually temporary. A lot of the time, when we start a fat loss phase also, I'll make this point, the biggest drop on the scale usually isn't body fat at the start, it's usually your fluid retention. So majority of your fat loss that you perceive at the start isn't actually fat loss, it is fluid or water leaving your body. I know a lot of the time people with excess amounts of carbohydrate intake and just food in general will be holding a lot more fluid generally in their body. If you are overweight, a lot of the time you're going to hold a lot more water on your body. So sweating more, just like cardio, does not reflect the best way to lose or drop body fat. So don't think sweat is the key to your fat loss, because it isn't. I always use this example. I'm going to use it again. Look at the amount of people you see finishing marathons that are overweight. If running for long distances and sweating and doing huge amounts of cardio was the most effective way for fat loss, then you would see very, very skinny, underweight people doing marathons and being able to finish them. People can prepare for a marathon for 6 months and not drop any weight at all because they're still eating in a caloric surplus. Yes, the majority of elite athletes, like you see those Kenyan runners and very elite athletes, are super skinny from marathon training because they are built for running. Nutritionally, they are usually in a caloric deficit. They're burning away not just their muscle, but not just their body fat, but their muscle also. You see they're super skinny too. And I would say it's a very excessive way to exercise, very extreme. And as I would argue, it's not good in the long run, not necessarily healthy. Just like too much of a good thing isn't good, marathon running is a good example of this. You see not just the malnourished bodies, but you see long-term injuries from knees and hips and just that overall wear and tear on your body. I don't think it is the best way or healthiest way to exercise. I would say that, especially not for fat loss either. I mean, if you're in a caloric deficit and you are running marathons, yes, you're going to lose weight. You can that way. But again, I wouldn't say it is sustainable or healthy in the long term. I did mention this just before. I'm going to mention it again. I talked about carbohydrates, meaning that you hold more water along the time. Now, this is a natural reaction to to eating carbohydrates, but they are not the enemy. So a very overrated thing people do when they first want to lose fat loss is cut out carbohydrates. Oh, carbohydrates. Oh, I've cut out carbs. How many times have you heard that? I want to lose weight, so I'm not going to eat carbs. Carbs are not inherently fattening. Fat loss still depends primarily on maintaining, you guessed it, a caloric deficit. You can literally eat just carbs and still drop body fat if you're in a caloric deficit. Not recommended, but you definitely can. Carbs are not the enemy. Your overall calorie intake, being in a surplus, is the enemy to your fat loss. The majority of people that have been doing this a long time, the people that have the best results, the healthiest physiques and bodies, are those that predominantly have more carbohydrates than any other macro in their diet. They'll hit their protein needs, they'll hit their fat needs, and their carbohydrates are quite high because carbohydrates is the best fuel source you can have for your workouts and for your exercise. A great, quick energy source for you, especially if you're playing sports, high intensity workouts, strength training, especially. It gives you that energy to power through. So carbohydrates are great for you. The reason they get a bad name and the reason people drop a lot of weight if they cut them out or dramatically cut them out altogether is because they're not eating shit food anymore. The problem is people are choosing the wrong carbohydrates. They're choosing donuts, they're choosing takeaway foods, fried foods, all these. There's a big difference between a bucket full of fried potatoes from a takeaway place and then boiling a potato at home. If you look at the calorie differences and you look at the health benefits of potato in general, it's one of the best foods you can have depending on how you prepare it for your regular meals. I would say it is a superfood when it comes to a carbohydrate choice. And there's many other great carbohydrates out there. So the more processed, the cooking method of your carbohydrates will make a difference, and your food choices overall. Obviously, if you're shelving 9 donuts a day and then you all of a sudden cut them out, you're going to create a caloric deficit for yourself because you're not eating shit anymore. You're not overindulging on calories. Point made. I'm going to move on from that. We're already up to point 5 of the overrated things for fat loss. And I see this a lot. I'm not going to just pinpoint where I see it or talk about anybody in particular or point fingers. But constantly changing your workouts and your diets. Every time a new fad comes out, oh, this keto diet or intermittent fasting or the paleo diet or the Mediterranean diet, you name it. All these new diets that come out, people jump on and they think they are the be all and end all and the ultimate way to drop body fat. And then what happens? An article comes out on the news or a new influencer tells you, no, you can't do that anymore. It's not the best way. This is the best way. The Kim Kardashian diet or the whatever, Justin Bieber workout. Like all these type of things make you feel productive, but the problem is it prevents you from being consistent. Repeatedly starting new programs often prevents enough consistency to see the results. If you continue stop and starting workouts and different diets, then you're actually not giving them a chance to work. You need to find something that is sustainable for you to do long term. I would say incorporate foods you enjoy. If fat loss is your goal, ensure you're in a caloric deficit, as I've said a million times, and I'll keep saying because it is the number one way, the only factor when it comes to dropping body fat. Pick workouts you enjoy, incorporate strength training, some cardio if you enjoy it. For me, my majority of my cardio, you would call it, is just walking. I just walk as much as I can. I deliberately park further away from where I need to be and just get my overall movement up during the day. And it's low impact, easy to do. And then every now and then, I will add some cardio in just to get my heart rate up. I might add some supersets in to get my heart rate up when I'm strength training because it is good for your heart, overall, your health, to get your heart rate up every now and then. But constantly changing workouts and diets does not teach you sustainability. It does not teach you to stick to something and actually give you a chance to see if it's going to work in the first place. So if you are going to do something, even if, I don't know, I shouldn't be saying this, but even if it is an extreme thing, see it out. At least see it out and see what the results are. Give yourself a chance to see the results. And what I mean by that, bad results even. If it's something extreme and you find it's unsustainable and unhealthy, well, lesson learned, you can move on to the next thing, but you've given it a chance to do its thing. Okay. 5 underrated things for fat loss. Now, this is important. I kind of put a list together, and again, there could be 50 other things here, but I think these are the most underrated things for fat loss, things that I incorporate every single day, some better than others. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. As I always say, we're not looking for perfection, we're looking for consistency, sustainability, overall healthy lifestyle habits. Number 1, daily walking. I just mentioned this. Increases your calorie expenditure without creating much fatigue or hunger. Low impact, easy. We are made to walk. We have feet, we have legs for a reason. Use them. Get out and walk. Even if you intentionally, as I said, have to park further away from where you need to be, if it is applicable, then if it's applicable, then do it. Just walk more. Just walk more than you are right now, and the benefits are just unbelievable. There's so much data out there. I read something a while ago. There's a 40% less chance of mortality for those. I think it's around that. I'm probably butchering the numbers. I could bring it up, but I'm pretty sure there's a 40% less chance of mortality or dying earlier if your steps are an average of over 7,000 a day compared to those who don't walk 7,000 steps or more a day. I definitely do, and I intentionally do it too. Some days it feels like an effort, but I know how important it is. On a Saturday and Sunday, I don't go to the gym, but I definitely get on the treadmill when I need to. If it's raining outside, I'll still be leisurely walking along, but I might watch some YouTube or whatever and just get my steps up. If I'm answering emails or coming up with ideas for these podcasts, I'll do it on a treadmill. I'll go for a walk outside if it's nice, and I'll listen to a podcast, something educational. 2 birds with 1 stone all the time. Just incorporate it into your daily lifestyle. And I know personally for a fact, and with many clients that I've coached, just simply bringing up your step count is so underrated. I know for me, prevention putting on excess amounts of body fat or unneeded body fat when I am in a surplus, I guess my intensity goes down a little bit when it comes to my overall movement. I don't really throw in some runs or supersets or really get my heart rate up too much when I'm in a building phase, which means I'm deliberately in a caloric surplus, trying to put on some muscle. But I still average 10,000 steps a day just for overall health and just for overall energy expenditure. If I sat around, just sat on my ass every single day, I still trained hard, done my strength training, but didn't move enough, I just sat around like this all day, I guarantee I would put on probably 50% more body fat just from inactivity. A simple thing you can do, if nothing else at the start, set yourself a daily step goal and try and hit it. It is a good way to practice accountability, see if you can stick to something, and have a clear goal in mind for the day or for the week. See what your average step count is and try and increase it. And then if you can stick to that, then you know you can set more goals for yourself, whether it's in the gym, getting to the gym a few days a week, or changing your diet and dietary habits over time. It can be done, but one of the best ways to prove to yourself you can achieve something, set a step target daily, see if you can hit it. Challenge yourself to hit it, prove to yourself you can do it. Number 2 kind of goes back to what I talked about with number 5 of overrated, being constantly changing workouts and diets. And this is consistent meal routines for underrated things you can do for fat loss. Eating similar meals at a similar time reduces impulsive choices and makes calories easier to manage. Now, you would have heard this in the fitness industry, especially if you've been around like I have chicken and broccoli, bro. I just live on chicken and broccoli and rice every single day. Some people do. Don't blame them. If it helps them consistently stay on track with their goals and they enjoy it, do it by all means. But what I'm trying to get at is you should have some kind of plan and structure in place to allow you to stick and adhere to your calories and your macronutrient needs throughout the day. Whether that's getting your coach to write you some examples of days of eating, I sell a lot of these. People DM me all the time for customized meal plans. And to be honest, I don't really like giving meal plans because then it limits the amount of foods that somebody can eat. I like people to be able to incorporate all the foods they enjoy, an abundance of different foods, but learn to stick within their calories and macro needs. But I will give people example meal plans customized to them to show them how to eat and teach them what is in certain foods as far as calories and macros go. Show them how to hit their minimum protein every single day. I think it's a great tool to start off with. But then you want to learn to incorporate a wide range of different foods, flexibly be able to have a treat here and there, have a chocolate bar every day if you want to, and be able to still hit your protein, your fiber, your micronutrient needs, and stay within your calorie needs based on if you're building muscle or dropping body fat. Consistent meal routines. For me, fortunately, I would like to say, I could eat the same thing every day. I could pretty much eat beef mince every single day, just change the flavors or change the spices and have that with some rice and some vegetables. And my snacks could be the same too. I like a chocolate bar every single day. I could have a chocolate bar. I could have eggs every single day and pretty much live on that. And I'd say oats and protein also. So I could pretty much live on five. All right, let's make it six. Six foods I could live on every single day. I'll jumble a few of these together. So fruit, I could have an apple and a banana every single day. I pretty much do. I could have some kind of mince meal for my main protein meal, I suppose, whether it's lunch or dinner. I could have oats and protein every single day. I pretty much have anyway, every single day. And eggs or egg whites I could have every single day. And I know I'm getting my did I say vegetables? Obviously vegetables too. So in my mince dish, incorporate a lot of vegetables into that meal, I would say. So those kind of 5 to 6 foods I could incorporate every single day, and it gives me a consistent meal routine every single day. Now, fortunately for me also, I have a beautiful Colombian fiance who cooks a wide range of different foods. She is a super foodie, loves trying different recipes. She's an amazing cook, so I am very lucky like that. My palate and my food variety has grown a lot since we have been together. But at the same time, she can eat the same things every single day. Also, she can eat, obviously, beans, rice every single day, plantain every single day. She can eat these foods as she wants to and incorporate them into her daily routine. But at the very minimum, have your mainstay foods you can hit that are going to allow you to stay within your calories and also hit your macro and micronutrient needs. Consistent meal routines. That is number 2. Hopefully I didn't talk too long about that one. Number 3, I'm a big hypocrite in some way. I've gotten better in some ways, but I'm a big hypocrite in some ways with this. Number 3, and that is sleep. Poor sleep, we know, increases your cortisol levels, which affects your sleep, your mood, your hunger, more importantly, your cravings, and reduces training performance and daily movement. So a massive barrier you are creating for yourself, a massive vice if you are not getting enough sleep. I know easier said than done. If you have kids keeping you up throughout the night, you get 2 hours sleep here and there. If only we all lived in Spain or a European country where they have siestas every single day, that'd be great, especially for those very busy parents out there. But if you didn't know, I guess I'm covering this point, you should know that sleep is super important when it comes to fat loss. A few more practical reasons for why sleep is so important for fat loss is because when you're sleeping, what aren't you doing? All right, wait. There is a condition where people do eat when they're sleeping, sleep eating, like sleepwalking. People do that, unfortunately, but 99.99% of us, when we're sleeping, we're not eating. So the more sleep you get, the less time you have to think about food and eat too. So it is a great way to create a caloric deficit, but it does affect your mood. We already, with the abundance of food choices, the access to food these days, eating and food choice is very psychological, I would like to say these days. It's very emotional. We have an emotional attachment to it. We use it for parties, we use it for gatherings, we use it when we're stressed, we use it for comfort. So it has a huge psychological attachment to it. And unfortunately, if we are sleep deprived, then our choices become worse. Our food choices, our time, our energy to cook, our cravings, all these feelings that we have are overstimulated to the point where it almost unintentionally forces us to make poor food choices. Not only that, I mentioned this training performance, it can make our exercise feel like a real slug. It can just affect it. It can affect our energy and our performance to the point where we're not getting as much as we should, or as many benefits as we should out of our exercise. We don't have the energy to do it. You mightn't get out of bed because you're so tired. And huge factor. That is number 3. That could be one of the biggest factors, the most important underrated things for fat loss. Number 4, moving on. I've said this probably about 20 times already in this podcast, but it is one of the main points, and that is increasing or eating more protein and fiber throughout the day. Both improve fullness, help control appetite, and make a caloric deficit easier to sustain. Why? Because both of them, like I said, improve your fullness, your satisfaction. I make this point, and I've made it a few times, I'll make it again. Go and eat a double cheeseburger at McDonald's and see how long it takes you to be hungry after that meal versus having a 200-gram steak and 3 boiled potatoes and find out when you're hungry again. So protein and carbohydrate choices, like I said, the difference in how they're cooked, how they're prepared, and what food choices you make will determine your hunger levels and your success with your fat loss phase or maintaining a sustainable eating routine. High in micronutrients, fiber, so good for your digestion also. There's so many benefits for both of these things, protein and fiber. I tell all of my clients, especially when they're starting out with me, if they're not used to it yet, I say try and make at least 2 of your main meals protein and fiber focused, which in the simpler terms can be a fish source, a meat source, some kind of protein, lean protein. It could be eggs source, and then fiber, obviously your vegetables more than likely with your main meals. Or you could have something like oatmeal with protein powder, milk, and then mixed berries where you're getting your fiber. So a high amount of fruit, protein, and a great whole grain source carbohydrate, slow digesting, oats. What an amazing, beautiful meal that sounds like. If you're not having it, incorporate it. If you don't like it, find something similar. It could be Greek yogurt with some mixed granola in it and berries, for example. There's always a way. When there's a will, there's a way. We all have different food preferences, like, dislikes when it comes to texture, preference, cultural factors. All these things come into it, but you should be able, you should have a diet that is flexible enough for you to incorporate the foods that you enjoy. That's my main message with that. Point 4, eating more protein and fiber. Get it in as much as you can. You will automatically eat better, make better food choices, and feel better overall. And you'll be getting all the essential amino acids you need, the protein for your body, the building blocks for muscle, for overall function, concentration, fiber. You'll be getting all those micronutrients, vitamin, minerals you need for overall health, which is ultimately what we want. Regardless of looks, what our aesthetic goals are, overall wellness and how we feel and how our body is functioning inside will determine our overall health. So think about the fuel you're feeding it. Old analogy here, talking about putting the wrong fuel in your car. What happens? Shits itself, it breaks down. Same with your body. You're putting the wrong fuel in your body constantly, it's not going to be running as efficiently as it should be. Okay, and what happens though? I don't know what's more expensive these days. Petrol prices are going to the doctors, but either way, putting the wrong fuel in your car, it's going to cause some expensive lessons there. Putting the wrong fuel in your body, having to visit the doctor all the time, is just as expensive, if not more expensive. So preventive measures at all times. Number 5, I touched on this earlier. Cardio in the overrated fat loss things is not superior for fat loss. Underrated things for fat loss: strength training, patience and boring consistency. Following a reasonably good plan, I've said this before, you can have the most basic plan for months, usually beats following a perfect plan for 2 weeks or giving up after a day or two because you don't stick to it sustainably. Strength training, far superior to cardiovascular training. Why? Because the more lean muscle you have on your body, the higher your resting metabolic rate, the energy expenditure throughout the day. Naturally, when you are sitting like this, the more lean muscle you have on your body, the more calories, aka energy, you expend throughout the day, making a caloric deficit easier, making it easier for you to burn energy. The only downside, I would say, which isn't really a downside in the grand scheme of it, why I'm wearing a beanie and a hoodie most of the time when I'm recording these, because it is the middle of winter in Victoria. I have a higher body fat at the moment than usual, especially when it comes to summer, but I do run on a reasonably low body fat compared to the general population, compared to most of the population, I would say. Because I strength train regularly, my metabolism is higher. I always wonder, why am I so cold bodied all the time? But I do hold a lot of lean muscle on my body. That is the reason. Not only that, strength training. When you strength train, what you are actually doing is you are breaking down muscle tissues. You are causing micro tears. Not to get too technical, but what you're doing, I'll try and explain it in a basic way. Strength training is actually, might sound a bit graphic too, but don't stress, it's not a bad thing. You are causing micro tears throughout your muscle fibers and muscle tissue in your body. In order for it to repair itself and get stronger, it builds muscle tissue over the top and strengthens it, which means you are building more muscle on your body. It's getting stronger and repairing itself. So that repairing phase takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy in your body for it to repair muscle tissue, which means now let me give you the comparison. So after cardio workout, you're burning energy during that actual workout, during that time. In comparison to strength training, the energy expenditure can last for 48 to 72 hours after you have finished that session, which is why it is far more superior for the reasons that I have mentioned. You have lean muscle mass on your body, your energy expenditure is higher, your resting metabolic rate, and number 2, your body is recovering from the tension you have put on it from the workouts, the muscle tissue breakdown that you have forced on your body. You are forcing it to work overtime in order to repair, therefore creating more of an energy expenditure and recovery. Longer term, that is why strength training is more superior. Not only that, quality of life, the stronger you are, the stronger your bones are, your muscles, your joints, prevents injury later on. It prevents you being less mobile. It allows you to live a more quality life for longer. I've had a client, I think my oldest client that I ever trained, she was 83 years old when she asked for my help. She'd never done strength training before. And this is a perfect example of quality of life and training for your goals. All she wanted to be able to do would go in her garden, be able to bend down comfortably, do the weeding, plant her garden, walk around plants and do the watering and just get around up and down when she needed to comfortably. By the end of our sessions, I think I was training her for about a year. I reckon I actually took the time out of my time. I went to her house. We did body weight movements and we used kettlebells most of the time. She ended up buying some kettlebells and doing like 3 sessions a week. So she was doing a session with me, 2 sessions by herself. And even within, I'd say, a month, she was squatting perfectly. She could feel the difference. She was pain free. She was getting out in the garden and just enjoying her life and her goals. And it was I've still got a video on my phone of her doing push-ups. I might put it on the screen now if I can. This is her banging out push-ups. Now I think at this stage she was only maybe a month and a half, 2 months into our training sessions. These are on her knees, but look at her smashing out these push-ups here. Like, if you can't see it, this lady, 83 years old, probably had never done push-ups in her life, let alone bodyweight squats. And she was just smashing out these push-ups and feeling super strong. And her quality of life was the best she said she had felt since her, I think her mid-40s. She was saying she never felt this strong. And now at 83, quality of life up, strength up, feeling amazing. She'd get out on her bike as well. That was her cardio of choice. She had a motorized bike for when she needed it. So if there was hills she couldn't get up or whatever, she could turn the motor on. And even more than that, she stopped using the motorized function on her bike as much because she had the power in her legs to be able to power up hills and ride for longer. And she is the definition of one of the most rewarding clients I've ever had. So when people come into the gym these days and they say, oh, I'm getting too old, I don't know if I can sign up to the gym. These people are 40 years old, 50 years old max, and they're saying they're too old to get into the gym. And I say, well, I trained a lady, she started strength training with me when she was 83 years old. And you're saying you're too old? You can't benefit from it? I think I've made my point here. Strength training, being consistent and being patient, doing the boring stuff. It doesn't have to be a crazy workout where you're, like I said, doing all this crazy acrobatic shit that you see on Instagram and social media. It's just doing the basics. Training all your muscle groups evenly, strengthening them. Hit all your muscle groups a few sessions a week. If you do 2 or 3 full body sessions a week, hitting all of your muscle groups, progressively overloading, ensuring you're getting stronger, and then fueling your body the right way, you will get amazing, sustainable results long term. I'll quickly run through these points again and then I'll wrap up this podcast. I really hope you got something out of it. Got any questions? Send me a DM at Grant Roberts PT on Instagram. Most overrated fat burning supplements, waste of money. Number 2, cardio or fasted cardio. Biggest misconception is that it's best for fat loss. It's not, you're just sweating more. Number 3, sweating more. Number 4, cutting out carbohydrates. No reason. Yes, I understand for some people, medically, they might have an issue where they can't eat a lot of carbohydrates for many reasons. A lot of people find it hard if they are gluten intolerant. There might be a lot of gluten containing carbohydrates. People react different to different foods. I know there is some conditions where people do have to practice a ketogenic diet because they have autoimmune diseases that just don't allow them or have very detrimental consequences for them eating high carbohydrate foods. So understandable. But as far as fat loss goes, no reason to cut out carbohydrates. Control your overall calorie intake. Ensure you're in a caloric deficit. Hit your protein and fiber. Number 5, constantly changing workouts and diets. See this in the gym a lot. The new diet, the new supplement, the new workout. These people don't stick to anything long term. And guess what? They either stay the same forever or they get worse. They actually get more overweight or more unfit or weaker in the gym because they just don't stick to anything. 5 most underrated things for fat loss. Daily walking. Walk more. Walk more. That's all I can say. Number 2, consistent meal routines. Find some mainstays that you can put or incorporate into your weekly or daily food intake, stick with them. It doesn't have to be glamorous. You don't have to be a master chef. Regardless of what you see on social media, these people aren't making these foods every single day and eating them. It just gets good clicks. It looks cool. It's just for engagement. Not everybody is a master chef. I'm certainly not. And you don't have to be in order to sustain fat loss or maintenance or maintain a healthy lifestyle. Find the foods that work for you. You can incorporate, you can cook easily, stick to, and do that. And number 4, eating more protein and fiber. Ensure those meals that you cook contain protein and fiber majority of the time. Sleep, huge. Like I said, I know a lot of you don't have a choice with your interrupted sleep, young kids or night shifts, blah, blah, blah. Okay, just try your best when you can to catch up on sleep. Even if it is a siesta, if you have the time, even if it's switching between yourself and your partner, if you're lucky enough to be raising kids together and you can do your shifts and you're just going to be better for it overall. Just sleep is so important. If you have a choice to go to bed early, switch off your phone, switch off your devices and go to sleep. You'll see the benefits very quickly, especially if fat loss is your goal. And the final one, which I touched on, strength training. Do the boring stuff consistently, progressively overload, incorporate strength training into your routine regularly, and you'll see amazing benefits, not just for quality of life, but if fat loss is your goal, the more lean muscle you have on your body, the more energy expenditure you have overall. That is a wrap for this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you found it valuable, share it with your friends, share it with your family, your spouse, your pet dog, whoever. Get it out there and I'll keep the podcast coming. If you did enjoy it and you would be so kind, share it on your Instagram story, tag me at Grant Roberts PT, subscribe to my YouTube channel, which it's on. Listen on Spotify, subscribe there also, and I'll see you in the next episode. I'll talk to you in the next episode. Take care. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's podcast and found it helpful, share it on your Instagram story, and don't forget to tag me at Grant Roberts PT.